What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. I don't know if you guys have heard the news, but it seems like Warner Brothers is looking for a way to do away with some of its entertainment assets. So one of the biggest things that has come up on this list is the gaming arm for Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, or Warner Brothers Discovery merger. All that jargon is just all over the place. Now, the big thing, though, that's in the conversation is that Xbox seems to be an interested party. I saw a report from Destiny. I saw the video title. I clicked to watch, and I got carried away doing something else, and I didn't get to watch it. And, he claims that Xbox seems to be one of the parties interested. Now, the challenge that I have in actually following this timeline in terms of Xbox wanting this at this moment in time is simply because of what had happened in the past. Many of you remember that years ago, there were rumors that Xbox wanted to actually make this acquisition, but never got around to doing so. And it was simple. We saw the emails during the Activision merger and Sony's dispute against it that Phil Spencer had basically conveyed his interest. However, what was the biggest deterrent was, Microsoft was not going to own a lot of those IPs. And the challenge here is, unless this particular, studio is actually, selling off everything in gaming and saying, we're going to give you that same deal, just like, Sony acquired Spider-Man's movie rights back in the day from Marvel, then I don't necessarily think Xbox would care to actually make this acquisition. That's one thing. The other question, too, is PlayStation going to be in the position to want to get this particular studio? Well, the answer to that is we don't really know, because the Bungie acquisition for now has not been the most sound purchase. I mean, not saying it's not going to ever materialize to become anything, but we've already seen that since Bungie was acquired, it was basically, PlayStation overpaying. So they may not necessarily be in a position where they want any acquisition anymore, especially acquisitions that will cost them. And when I say cost them, is we don't necessarily know what all the rules of the game, look like. And the rules of the game, at this moment in time could be that the leaders at Warner Brothers may just be blowing smoke, trying to figure out a way to, bring investors in if they find out that big parties are involved, and they may not want to sell. That's another thing too. They may be like, oh yeah, we'd like to sell. How much are y'all willing to pay? So that investors can be like, oh, you mean they're willing to pay this much? It could also be a strategic move to just create buzz around their studios, because some of their IPs are, quite profitable. I mean, now, yes, they haven't made the best decisions, having to make Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League with a studio who had been known for making, in my opinion, what I think are some of the best superhero games out there. That's not a sound, in my opinion anyways, that was not a sound move to have made, and it's cost them a lot on top of what the years of financial challenges has been costing their other studios with games that have not been doing well, nor resonating well, nor getting marketed well. And then their stance on taking on consulting firms in the space of a lot of their video games to actually work on titles that, these titles never really needed these consulting firms and writers anyways, has also turned their audiences off. So now, because of how expensive and time-consuming video games are to develop, it seems like everybody is, in a crunch for money. Now, the one thing we have to basically go into is the video game market is really weird. In fact, I was watching this interview, and I'm somewhere, maybe 15 minutes in. In fact, I didn't watch all 15 minutes consecutively. The interview is broken down. It's an interview on Dan Allen's gaming channel. This is a very interesting interview because Glenn Schofield, who was the creative director on Callisto Protocol, as well as some of the, Dead Space franchises, he worked on those franchises, is on here, and he's dropping some serious goods. And Dan Allen is a legend because he just broke this whole 1 hour interview down, and you can pretty much click, on where you want. Now, here's the reason I bring this particular interview on. In the section where, Glenn Schofield is talking about, working on Callisto Protocol and the challenges, Glenn Schofield said that there was a time that the investors came in and said, hey, man, it's time for us to ship this game, and the game's got to go out at so and so and so time. And so the way I translated, and he didn't specifically say this, but the way I translated it was investors get antsy, and many of them don't have the kind of patience that's required in modern gaming today. Modern gaming today is super expensive, super time consuming, And in reality, a lot of the technological transformations that are going on currently are so fast and so heavy that getting the expertise is very, very challenging. I mean, think about since Unreal Engine 5 came out, there have been many iterations of that, engine itself, and with new functionality and new possibilities, that to keep up, it's just, you just need people who are cutting edge. And if they're building a video game, it's not easy for all of them to be going back and forth. So the challenge with many of these, studios that don't necessarily have their proprietary software, which is most of them, and Warner Brothers Games itself does not, for the most part, most of its studios use Unreal Engine. They don't use their own proprietary software. So for most of them, they're going to be looking at, years and years in development with regard to that, and not like Ubisoft that punches out a game every 3 months or something like that. And even Ubisoft themselves, they may be punching out games every 3 months, but they're still facing the issues of their audiences. So this particular tolerance, in terms of how this stuff works, is not really there for many publishers. I think Microsoft is probably one of the companies, because of their huge wallet, that has the tolerance at the end of the day. When you kind of think about it, even right now, PlayStation doesn't have that tolerance. I mean, the way they've been, treating and working with Bungie shows that. I mean, it's the reality that, man, they really don't have time for any of this nonsense. Like, they really want things to be moving forward, and Bungie didn't seem to be in the position to, at this point anyways, to move those things forward. So they're basically taking, some really interesting steps at the end of the day. So who is going to acquire this particular studio? The answer is basically unknown, but in my opinion, I don't think Xbox, finds their interest on this deal, even if they want to sell everything off. But the possibility that there is that, they're going to be dealing with all of these IP lawyers and stuff is just going to be very challenging. However, if they acquire them, then they will probably be unstoppable. I see a lot of people saying that Xbox is going to have a lot of management issues because right now it's kind of hard for them to manage their gaming studios and blah, blah, blah. Man, what are you talking about, man? You're talking about $1 trillion company that has basically sent, basically almost $100 billion into its gaming division, and they're not going to know how to manage them. I mean, did you not watch the Xbox showcase? What else is the management from a publisher supposed to look like? It's supposed to look like games in the pipeline, games in development, games in the works, games coming out. And they've checked all those boxes. As crazy as it may sound, they are way ahead of PlayStation. They've basically overtaken PlayStation in the subscription genre. They've overtaken PlayStation in basically highest selling game genres, because they have Minecraft and they have Diablo and they have, Overwatch and they have Call of Duty. They've taken over in all those metrics. I mean, people will still sit down here and still talk about, oh, but they've sold less consoles. Sure, but they have more users available to them because of the way they've structured their platforms. And even PlayStation's boss says that you don't need to judge a platform by the number of consoles that are sold. However, what you need to go with is the amount of monthly users, of which Xbox has got a load of them and is positioned to get a load more, unless PlayStation basically changes its tactics. But PlayStation is changing its tactics too, and good for them, because they need it more than anything else. But I'll get out of your hair. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching the video. I really appreciate you guys' time and audience. Let me know what you think. Peace out.